Hi, Amy.
Hello. I had to change my
Hey,
privacy settings.
how are you?
Oh,
I
so
am
everybody,
good.
we thought that our dear friend Amy Myers with MDA was not going to be able to be here because she is actually in Maui right now.
Yes.
See for her, but she's at a wedding. Isn't that right, Amy?
I am. My best friend's getting married tomorrow.
Oh, it's so
That's
good.
awesome. So
In
she's not in
paradise.
video, but she's here in sound. So we're so glad you popped in because we've
In
got some great
paradise.
information today, and we've got a topic of how to make your silent auction loud.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so we're so glad that you came and popped in. And my partner, Trevor Nelson, he'll give you some deets about what we're going to do today.
Yeah, it's awesome. Well, thanks so much. That's a nice play on words that we have, making the silent auction loud. This is going to apply to online auctions as well, of course. We're seeing a trend in that space. Thank goodness. There'll be a little bit of a tech flair to it at some point during our conversation here. We want it to be a conversation, so please, everyone, keep the questions coming throughout. I'll definitely interrupt Jason and Amy throughout and ask those questions. And of course, stay tuned to the very end. We are going to do a drawing for could be a silent auction or online auction item, as a matter of fact, that someone could use at their next event. And of course, my partner Jason here, Amy Myers is here with us in spirit and in sound from Paradise in Maui. And what we want to do is we want to start. I think the biggest thing I've learned so much from being around Amy and Jason, and one thing on a macro level that I think will segue nicely into this conversation is when someone comes to us, someone comes to Jason and says, hey, what's the right amount of items in a silent auction? How should I set up my silent auction? It's funny because we say it amongst ourselves. We go, well, we always have to remember the math. And Jason, tell us what's the first thing that you say. I've heard you say it 100 times, and it always works, and it always works the best for the clients. What is the first thing you say when someone asks, how many items should we have in the silent auction?
Well, I just want to just start with that and just say thank you all. And I want to just remind everybody who stays at the end, we're going to do a drawing for something that you're going to get to use, a trip that you can use in your next fundraising event to raise more money. So just stay to the end because we've got that. And we are recording this. So if you miss something, all the information as we do every week. If you're new here, we really welcome you to do this. This is not anything that we do provide software. We do provide trips and experiences you can do to raise money, but this is really about you. We want to make sure that you have some real takeaway because we know that it's tough out there, and we need to raise some money this year. And so we want you to be able to raise more money and just really do that. So if you're new here, welcome. If you're returning, thank you so much for being here. Back to the question. Yes. Start with the math. How much money do you want to make?
There you go.
And when I say that, I mean, really, how much money do you want to make? Because there's not a right or wrong answer here. It's just, we want to maximize this. So with silent auctions, I've seen lots of, everything from where you have 125 people that show up at an event and 300 silent auction items. I've also seen the flip side where you had 700 people and 12 silent auction items. So we really want to talk about, three things I think that, and Amy and I, we have a lot of I'm going to say experience on this, and Amy has a tremendous amount of experience and a lot of stuff. And I'm going to share some slides here in a minute that's going to have that. And some of it we agree on, some of it we don't. And I want to hear, Amy's take on it to see if maybe we can persuade one another one way or the other. So you'll hear a little bit of different disagreement, but it's still, we want to get you where you want to go. So the first thing is everybody's, talks about, well, how many items and stuff like that. Well, how many people are going to be at your event? You've really got to start with that. Amy does a formula where in fact, I'm going to just pop this slide up here. And just so you know, I know the slide may be small the way you're seeing it. I'm going to pop off. I'm going to take you off for just a second, Trevor. And that way they can see this slide. I want to make sure you can see it. Know the previous year. What did you do the previous year? You can't just flip a switch and go from 40,000 to 400,000 in a silent auction in 1 year, not without a lot of work. So let's really be thoughtful about how we look at this. If your yield's 50%, knowing your yield, what did you do? What does yield mean? Yield means what did you make? If you have 25 items, and if the the fair market value of those 25 items was an average of $250 a piece, and you sold them at $125, then your yield is about 50%. You're going to have some averages. Some stuff's going to bring above fair market value. Some stuff's going to bring less than fair market value, but that's really what you want to keep in mind. So I'm going to back into this, and we'll come back to the how many items, because I want to go through the slides the way that Amy set them up and sent them to us. Like I said, I didn't think she was going to be here. So now I'm really under the gun. I've got to do well with this stuff because she's not, other than to pipe in and tell me where I'm wrong. And that's always good. So silent, fair market value. The reason you want to do the fair market value, whether you decide to publish the fair market value in your auction software, is up to you. I don't think it matters. Actually, I prefer that it doesn't happen. This fair market value is what, it's at the market, it's the auction, whatever they're going to pay. Because what you don't want to do is get into a situation where people are looking at this and going, well, this is normally $500 and I'll give $100 for it. I mean, maybe if you need to get it going, but depending upon the item, but we're going to talk about the kind of items. One of the things we're going to talk about also is not only the type of items, but how to get those items. So all those things, because I know everybody I've talked to this year, they say they're really struggling with getting stuff for the silent auction. So we're going to talk about that. A couple of real simple things. Enter the items as you receive them in the software, get all that stuff put up, the pictures, expiration dates. If you're not using auction software this year, I don't care whether you use HGA Bid or another one, please, you've got to make that change. When we see people go from paper and doing the old fashioned way to going to auction software, 30% increase, right? I mean, it's a way to raise your bids 30% right there, year over year. So please make that investment, find somebody to underwrite it. There's ways you can get that paid for, but make that happen. Use pre-calculate opening bids. This is probably where Amy and I probably might disagree a little bit. She likes as a standard 30 to 40% of fair market value in items and 50% for your best items. I like to put things down where everybody can play and get things going, especially if you're using electronic bidding. I want to get things started. Now, what that means is don't start something off if you've got an item worth $500 that you start at $50 and then $10 increments. You're never going to get there. People are going to get item fatigue. They're going to get fatigued with it before you ever get the bid up. But, wherever you need to do it. The other thing is, if you are going to use consignment, which we offer consignment all the time into that, make sure that the very first bid that somebody bids, you make money. I have seen this. I cannot tell you how many times where somebody went and they bought something, they consigned something into the auction that cost, let's say, for example, would cost them $1,000. And the opening bid they put was $500. And then they sold it for $600 and they lost money. Don't do it. Just do not do it. Put the very first bid. And we recommend a minimum of 20% on that, a minimum. So when you start talking about, fair opening value, really do that. Bid increase should be by 10% of fair market value. Again, this is where that's a good rule of thumb, but if fair market value is $2,000, I don't want to do it at $200 because I want to make sure that more people get to bid more. It's a psychological thing. If bidding is at $50 versus $100, that one more bid of, it's only $50. It's only $100. It's only, $125 more. I mean, don't be afraid of those numbers. Let people bid, especially when you've got electronic bidding, and the bids will go up, because if you put your increments too large, it scares people off. It's no different than the live auction. I mean, how many of you guys have seen a live auction happen? The auctioneer's going $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, $4,000. Come on, 4,000. Okay, 3,500. Got it. Now 4,000. Now 4,500. And the same person that wouldn't bid 4,000 bids 4,500, and they wind up paying $6,500 for it. It's just a psychological thing. Same thing with silent auction. It's exactly the same thing. and I'd love to hear Amy's thoughts on it, but my thought is let people bid. People want to bid, especially with electronic bidding. Paper bidding's a little different because, they have to go back and they have to look and they have to do it. With electronic bidding, you sit right there. I'm sitting at my table, drinking a glass of wine, eating hors d'oeuvre, and I'm bidding on 5 things at the same time. And everybody's, it doesn't stop that. So keep that in mind. An item worth 500, so it goes up $50 each. And that's an okay number, but don't be afraid to make it 25 either and have the up. This is one thing that I think I am in absolute lockstep with is buy it now should be no less than 150 to 200% of fair market value. It's all about perception. Put a bid up there. If somebody wants to go ahead and do it, and if you've got an item that's worth 500, let's say it's $150, put a buy it now of $300. Somebody goes by and just says, oh, I just want that. And they paid $300, especially when it's like a goodie basket. Maybe it's a craft, a piece of, something somebody made. Kids art's a great whenever they have that. If you're using paper bids, highlight 3 lines, 40, 60, 80% to encourage bidders to skip bids. I think that's a really great idea. And just, I've not ever seen that done personally, but I think that's a great idea. Lets people know that they can go ahead and jump. And what she means by that is I also want pre-print the bid amount. Don't leave it open. That way, it's a minimum bid increase. So literally, on the sheet, it would say the first bid is, let's say 100. The second is 125, 150, 175. So all they do is put their number or their name. And if they just put their number and their name right there, that way you don't have somebody it's a $500 item and somebody comes up and bids 505. It's trying to get 506, 507. It just stops all that kind of stuff. And as you can see, know your room to set your minimums. You've got to utilize your crowd. You're going to know your folks, especially if you've got any history. And if you don't, I like to be conservative. So I always like to go at everything conservatively and then, got to get my thing going here, build it up. Top selling items. This is one of the things that I get asked more, than anything else and one of the things that I see where nonprofits really struggle is that they do not, and it's, they pick the wrong stuff. Food and drink experiences, travel, entertainment, pampering services, autographed sports memorabilia. One of the things that we've seen, especially over the last year, is things that aren't doing very well. Generic artwork, which is called flat goods also, posters, things like that. Unless it's got an autograph on it, it may not be as well. Jewelry, even some of the custom jewelry stuff, it's struggling. And we've seen that we've seen it sell, but not bringing really great deal. Services that are too personal. This is the one that I think is hilarious. Legal and medical offerings. Okay, I got to stop. No one wants to go to a charity auction and buy a dental exam. No one. Nobody's sitting there going, because they can go get it anyway. Oh, it's a free x-rays and exam and teeth whitening, whatever. Most of them are going to do that just to get somebody in the door anyway. And part of the reason is we don't make the right ask. So I'm going to go back to that slide because I want to talk about those. So, legal and medical service. I mean, I've had people sit there. I've seen, somebody donated a estate planning. Well, how many of the folks in the room really need estate planning right then? Stacy brings up the point, photo sessions never sell. Those are things, here's what you would be better off to do. If you've got somebody that has photography services, combine it with a dinner experience. So let's say that you've got somebody and they've got a home and they're going to open it up and you're going to do a buy-in dinner and they're going to make this donation. They want to be a part of it. That's how you can use that person that wants to make that donation. Don't sit there and go, well, a free setting with photos, and you get 1 8x10. Nobody gives a rip about that. We've all got a phone right here. They do that. But if you have a professional photographer come to this party and you've got 12 couples that, and it was a buy-in and everybody had to pay $500 a couple, you know, you raise $6,000 and it was a deal, and you have somebody come and do that, that would be worth to have value. And, you know, do that. If they really want to make a donate, have them come and say, look, we're going to let you set up. And when everybody walks in, we're going to have you there. They want to charge you for those services, but if you could get that donated, that'd be great. So, you know, putting stuff in the silent auction, it's just a waste of space.
Yeah, those are the most popular. I think that's why they're on.
So skipping over here, silent auction setup and flow. It's all about merchandising. Presentation will help you sell items. Absolutely. Make sure that everything is where people can walk around on both sides. You've got items on both sides. Guests should be able to walk around and view items without a bottleneck. So move things away from the wall. We've all seen it where there's like this big stack, because where does everybody go? And I've got to, you know, remind me, Trevor, to bring this up about the bar area. Okay. Cause I've got a great story I want to tell everybody.
Okay.
Guests should be able to walk around everything. Tables, bid boards, bid sheets need to be well lit so that guests can see all the items and information. We went and did this we've done this for a lot of clients. We went to like a Hobby Lobby and got these little clip lights because the ambiance, everything, and we put them up on the posters, and those clip lights would come over there and shine up, and it made it look so cool. They were like $4, $5 or something. And so we have all these little clip lights, and it made it look fantastic because it lit up the deal, really highlighted so people could see it, but it didn't change with having the room lights down so people could still see it. You know, you want to think about those things about presentation, especially whenever you get high ticket items. Present them in a high ticket way. Go spend a little bit of money, and, you know, somebody just, you don't have room in the live auction. Maybe you're not having a live auction. Go spend a little money. You can go get a poster board made, a foam core with a full color print, you know, 11 by 17 or something like that, for like $10, $12. And so you've got something that really makes the difference instead of just putting a little piece of paper up there and the thing. And one of the things, and I definitely want Amy to pipe in on this, I see a lot of people put so much effort into a theme for a silent auction item that people don't know what in the world they're bidding on. You know, they'll have a football, they've got a pom-pom, they've got all this kind of stuff, and it's, you know, around, and like I live in Oklahoma, so it'd be, you know, like the University of Oklahoma or OSU, and they've got all this stuff, and it's 2 tickets to a baseball game. And it's like, what in the world? What was that deal? Well, we didn't have we just wanted to, you know, we were trying to get the theme. I mean, that's all really well and good, but a poster, if they had just, you know, taken that poster, made it big where everybody can see it, where you don't have to walk up and stand, you know, be right in front of it to read the description. From 5 feet away, it catches your eye and you go, oh, hey, OSU, OU, Nebraska, Arizona, you know, University of Southern California, whatever you may be, those freaking Longhorns as well, that they see that and it catches their eye and they'll be drawn to it. So those are some really things that I like to see happen. Sections and categories, you know, yellow and blue tables with higher tickets, things like that. You know, if you're closing tables at different times, make sure to communicate clearly. MC does a countdown. Utilize text to bid, allowing them to continue bidding throughout the program. Here's one of the things: if you're not doing a live auction, I mean, if you're doing a live auction and you're not using technology for that, you have to stop the silent auction before the live auction goes, because everybody's going to be standing up, milling around, going over there, looking at stuff, and it just becomes a disruption. Thank you, Amy. She said no props. So there you go. Don't put all that stuff. Just get something out there that describes it. With mobile technology, like I said, whoever you're going to use, whoever you're using, you don't have to have that. You can keep the live auction going and then do it after the fact. Maybe you run it right up to the deal, have the auctioneer say, hey, ladies and gentlemen, check your phones because we've got a bid up next, and we're going to have the grand total celebration, blah, 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 this, that, and the other in a little bit, because you want to bring that total together. There's all kinds of reasons they can do that. Make sure, I can't see that. Make sure, oh, text to bid is closed before the live auction mission drive. See, that's where I think that you can keep it going. I want to close it, during that. That may give you a few more minutes to keep things going. Even though as an auctioneer, I want everybody's eyes on me, but I still know there are going to be people that aren't going to, they're not going to buy something in the live auction, but they sure might buy something in the silent auction or continue bidding. Now, I will tell you this. I do firmly believe that all silent auctions need to end at some point. So, especially if you've got higher end. So I'm going to back up what I just said for just a second. If you're coming up on your mission drive, you need to have everything closed so that way everybody knows what they've won and how much money they've spent before the mission drive, before you start that. The reason, and Kathy, I'm going to get to your point about this. I personally have had guests that have been with me have said, well, I would have given more money on the mission drive, but I had some auction item open. I didn't know if I won it or not. Now they weren't using auction software, and this guy had deep pockets. His ability to give was significant, but he just was like, well, I don't know if I've already spent $1,000 or $2,000 over here in the silent auction, so I don't want to give it over here. So, having them give that countdown, saying, ladies and gentlemen, have your MC, the auctioneer, get up there and say, we're going to close the auction. And you can do it in the middle of the live auction. It doesn't matter. I mean, it's only going to take just 30 seconds to do that. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, table A, B, and C are all going to be closed. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, done. And it's over. And those people are going to get that notification that they either won or they lost. And they know exactly how much mission drive means live ask. So if, we're sending kids to camp, Stacy, if we're sending kids to camp and it costs $1,000 and we're trying to send 100 kids to camp, raise 100,000, that would be what mission drive is. Whatever your organization is doing, that's what it refers to as mission drive. So I hope that clears that up. So again, they might not participate in that live ask, the mission drive, if they think that they've still got some outstanding items that they've won. Because, if somebody spent $2,000 on something in the silent auction, they probably won't give you $2,000 in the live fund to need. So some will. Okay, this is the part where we seem to have the most questions come up, is how do we get items? Having a deal about, and I will talk about the onion part, but having a plan. You've got to decide what you want to get before you go get it. The idea of saying, well, we're just going to go out there and hopefully we get some stuff. That is not a great way to come across. That's not a great way to attack and go get items. This is the most powerful tool that you have to go get items for your silent auction, is your phone. Picking up the phone, going through your connections, knowing who that which we're going to talk about that here in just a second, finding out what it is. So, what do we want to have? What do we not have? And being willing to make those hard calls to tell, Mary Sue, who has always, brought, her piece of artwork that sucks, nobody wants, and we've got to go figure out how to put it in there because, for what we've got a relationship. I think that you've got to really think about selection, keeping it down, because back to the numbers things, if you've got 150 people, you don't want to have 85 items in there. We want to keep a low number so that way you can keep it as, I think, 3/4 or to 1, less than. I like about, if you've got 125 people, that probably means you've got around 60 couples and 60 checkbooks. So I don't want to go any more than, I want less than that. My mind, Amy would tell you more than that probably, but I love what she says. You don't want to make it a flea market.
Mm-hmm.
Trevor, do we have a question?
Yeah, we do, Jason. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I'm gonna hold on, just bring you, turn your video back on and we'll
pardon me. Yeah. No, it was Amy's kind of addressing it with Elizabeth right now. She said, is there a limit you should suggest for silent auction and a starting value for live auction items. And Amy says, I do one item for every 2 to 3 bidding units. A bidding unit is typically a couple. And that makes a lot of sense to me. Absolutely.
That's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's perfect.
And you're uncovering something very, very large, a large point, of course, and part of what we're, trying to get across today is how to get more donated items into your event, right? So we can't speak enough to how much of a crunch we've seen with our clients and just every organization that we've had the opportunity to work with over the last year plus, for obvious reasons, right? Don't want to be downtrodden, but there's a lot of local businesses that are hurting, that are not so willing to donate right now and what have you. Let's embellish more on how we get more donations, and how we position those. And, and once again, I mean, the vacation home donations are not necessarily falling off the wayside, but they're not as prominent as they have been, with the typical donors and supporters that are giving up their homes and what have you. The whole landscape has really changed. So if anyone has any questions for us about that and what they're seeing, we'd love to know, even if I'm completely off base. This is not a broad stroke of the entire space, but it is definitely a trend that we've seen for some time now. So Stacey,
I've mentioned this on a previous one, like everybody, like restaurants, everybody's always gone to restaurants. Well, restaurants just have had a bloodbath. And guess what? Every nonprofit out there is going and asking, hitting them up for stuff.
Yeah.
This is where I really, you got to start planning this out and thinking about what you're doing. Here's maybe a way that you could go make an ask for them that they would do, because the clientele that you're talking about, if it's a high-end restaurant, don't ask them to do that. Just say, would you be willing to do a dinner? We'll even cover the food cost. I mean, even maybe you say, look, we'll cover the food cost, or we don't expect you to, but would we do it at your place? They've got this really, like, there's a restaurant here in Edmond called Signature Grill, small little place, very fantastic food. They've always got, it's kind of a special place. There's only 12 tables in there. But it's really special. That's not really what, going there and getting them to donate something out of their deal. But maybe there is a way that you could do that. So make sure that's the ask. Ask them for something specific. Say, look, we'll cover the wine. We'll help you with the food. Maybe you want to supplement that, because it may be something you could sell for $500 and you don't have to have, and you cover $100 in food costs for them, and, say, look, we're going to do that and cover the tip or something like that. Just help them, be thoughtful about that, because they're really getting bludgeoned right now. Retailers, the same thing. Still goes back to the best things that people want. They want experiences. They want to travel. They want signed artwork. If you've got that, we can refer you to somebody with some of that stuff if you need to do that. If you've got some local celebrity, buy-in dinners are really good for this. If you've got somebody that's got a fantastic home that loves to have loves to party, you go get them and say, hey, look, Amy, would you be willing to put a party in your home? How many could you do? And she says, you know what? I'm glad to have 6 couples. Awesome. Hey, we've also got a chef who said they would do a private dinner, which is, thank you, Stacy. And, they'll come to the home, or maybe you cater that out and get it done. So that way Amy doesn't have to do it. Maybe Amy loves to cook and she's a gourmet chef. She wants to do that. Or she may just want to sit back and drink wine and hang out with everybody, which is what I would want to do, because I don't really want to work. And so those are things. And then you put $250 a pop on it, and all of a sudden, you've made a couple of grand. Or make it $500, make it $1,000. People want to do something, especially right now. People are ready to connect. The one thing that we're seeing more and more and more is that people are ready to connect. They want to see each other, and they really want to get out and mingle, for the lack of a better word. So I want to pop back up here. This is what I think is so important. As Amy points out, peel the onion from the inside. The first thing is, who do we know? Who do I know? Who does my family know? Who do my friends know? My coworkers, and then others. Check your checkbook. Okay. The first thing that you need to do is all the organizations, get your get the expense report, find who the vendors that you spend the most money with. They will come up with stuff. You never know. You may have somebody that you have no idea that they have a condo in Tahoe that they would love to donate, or they've got a boat on Grand Lake that they would love to do, or they've got a wine cellar that their home that they would love to entertain in. There's all kinds of ways that you would be surprised whenever you tell them, especially if you're writing them checks and paying them money. Don't be afraid to ask, and be specific. The more specific that you can be, because if you don't ask, I'm going to use the restaurant for example. If you go to a restaurant and say, hey, we're having our fundraiser, could you guys help us out? And they go, yeah, what's the default? A gift certificate. But if you make the ask of specific to say, hey, I know that you've got, or let's just use this. Let's say that you've got a group and they've got a big barn. And you said, hey, we're going to have a beer and barbecue party. We're going to charge $100 a person to, $100 a couple. And we're going to try to get 50 couples to buy into this deal and raise $5,000. We've got the barbecue done. We've got the beer donated, but we need a place to do it. Could you do your place? And they're going to sit there and go, yeah, let's go. Or they might. I mean, that's the ask. So things like that are going to be how you make those asks and get there. Same thing for live auction. Who do you know? The inside, the closer the tie, the better it is. If you can make a phone call, if you scroll through if you've never done a people exercise, let us know. I think we've got a webinar that we did on that. Call us up. We'll tell you how to do it. It works really, really well. And that's how you go can find some stuff that the typical thing of sending letters out, waiting for it to come in. The way that we have our clients that we work with, organizations that I've worked with for years, that they're getting stuff, the letters and the simple emails in the past are not working as well. The reason is there's somebody else that picked up the phone that called them and said, hey, we really need your help on this. Would you be willing to, put something in our event to help us do this? And that's who they're going with. So, hey, if you guys have any questions through this, please, I'm kind of just riffing through here and trying to do what Amy would do, but I'm not doing near as well as she does. But, going back to the math. So number of recommended silent auction items is 1/2 to 3/4 per buying unit. Buying unit means checkbook. If you have 300 people, that means more than likely you've got 150 checkbooks. And that's just a rule of thumb because most people come in couples. So 400 guests, 200 buying units, that means 100 to 150 items and packages. Personally, less is more. Less is more. And as it says right here, we want to create a seller's market, not a flea market. We want people to have plenty of stuff to go bid on, but we don't want it all going cheap. And I see it over and over and over again. I mean, I walk through this every event that I've ever done. I always walk through. And if I'm bidding on something, that means it's cheap. Okay. Cause I mean, I do see events all the time. So, I'm there to make money, not spend money, and to make them money. So best practices, starting bids, 35 to 40% of the value for so-so items, 50% for good items. Minimum increment bids are preset bids, whether it's on text to bid or the bid sheet. Again, you do not want to sit there and leave it open-ended. Make sure that if Trevor's bid $100 and the next bid is 125, that it's already printed on that sheet. It's real simple. You can do that with Excel, set those up. There's some other programs that you can reach out there for. Most auction software has it. So if you want to do that, but and that's fine, but you can still do it on the auctions with the auction software is what I recommend. Bid increments should be based on the fair market, 10% of the fair market value. It's okay. But if the fair market value is 75, drop it to 50. But it's okay to have a weird bid increment of $125 if it's something that's really high end. And one of the things I would say, don't be afraid of having high end packages in your silent auction. We have seen people buy trips for $8,000 in a silent auction. Mm-hmm. Silent auction spend $8,000, and more. And we had a live auction, but they're just, there's a limited amount of time. We couldn't put everything in there. And it was a weird kind of a off the beaten path trip that they weren't really sure. So, but they put it in there and holy cow, somebody bought a trip to Iceland. So those things are right there and they have it all the time.
Let the market decide. Let the market decide. I think
Yeah, give that opportunity. Some
Yeah.
really cool items and packages or priceless items, packages may have a higher minimum bid increments. That's absolutely true. And if you have buy it now, 150 to 200% of the fair market value. And if you're not for sure, raise it even higher. If you're not sure, raise it higher. You know, people are, it's all perception, gang. It's perception and at the moment. And somebody sees it and it says $1,000 and you know it's probably worth maybe $300 or $400. Who cares? Okay. You just put it up there, that way they can see it. And that's buy it now, not fair market value, buy it now. Because the reality is a lot of people now know that if I pay $1,000 for something and it's worth $500 fair market value, I can only write off $500. And most people are pretty educated that care. No items or packages should have a fair market value less than 100.
That makes
Put
a lot of
stuff
sense.
together, combine it, make sure that you do this. I've given this example before. We had a group, they had a whole bunch of gift cards. It was fast food. It was all fast food stuff. There was probably $500, $600, $700 worth of gift cards. They piled it up in there and some lady bought it for like $950. So because she was like, it's one deal, and they put on there, feed a college kid or something like that. Feed a freshman, I think is what it actually said. And they were like, holy cow, there you go.
Super smart. Combine those small items into one big smorgasbord.
Yeah. Just put it out there and put it together. So this is a flow chart and we're going to share this. And this is where, I really would rely on Amy, the location placement of your silent auction to the event is crucial. Okay. I want to just stop right quick. And I'm going to tell you a quick story I said I would about the bar. So some years ago, I was doing an event at a local country club. The way that it worked out, they had a bar in this back room. Because they had like 2 or 3 of them. They put a silent auction with nothing but travel trips. That's all it was, right there beside it. Everybody's and they used big white foam core boards. We call it a vacation station. We do this for clients. And they had it set up there, had somebody back there just waiting, to answer any questions. And everybody's standing in line to get a cocktail and they sit there and they look right at it. So as soon as they get their drink, if or not, they would walk right back past it and see the trip that they wanted to take. And they go, oh my gosh, yeah, I want to go to Tuscany. Let's just sign up. And they would write it on the sheet right then and bid. It was the most coolest thing, so flow, if you put it back in the corner where nobody's going to go, because where does everybody stand? Everybody knows where everybody stands at their event. If you've had an event before, they're going to be right there by the bar. They're going to be right there in front of the silent auction. They're going to be right there in front of those high traffic areas. That's where everybody congregates, because what is everybody doing? They're seeing each other. They're talking. They're enjoying each other's company. And that's how you're going to get doing it. And Robert's doing it this Friday.
Yeah.
So,
placement is crucial. Placement is crucial.
This is a really super option. And all those things, it still comes back, merchandise it, show it where it's going to show well, and see it from a distance. Because of social distancing that people are going to have, whether it's because you're compelled to do it or people just have a holdback, they need to be able to see it. They're not going to see an 8x10 little frame stuck on a table, that you went and put a little frame in. They can't see it from 10 feet away. They may not look at the program. Make sure that you merchandise this and get that big display up there big where they can see it. So I 11x17 works really good. Again, you can go get the little clip lights. So it displays it, makes it look kind of classy, just like a big art show, especially for the higher end stuff. And even if it's a donated, if you do it far enough in advance, you can go get those printed for little or nothing. It's just not that much. And it's a fantastic investment to do. So I really want to hit some questions. I've been just going for 40 minutes. We've got 20 minutes left. We're going to finish in an hour, just like we always do. And we're going to give something away. So please do not leave. So guys, fire up on some questions. We really want to know, what we can answer along the way. If you've got something, or you've got a scenario, you've got a question, hit us up. A way to ask. If you've got somebody, let me know. I can tell you, I'm really good at helping you frame up how to ask somebody for something. So please.
We had
And
some really
Amy, if you have something to say, unmute yourself and start talking because we need your help.
we had some really good dialogue going about wine too. So we'll keep that going. Sorry, Amy.
That's okay. I was just going to say a little tip, and I think I've said this on other calls, but go online to Tito's.com. They are very, very giving. They give underwriting money. They also will give product in the form of either cases, so you can have like a Bloody Mary bar and charge for drinks, or they will give you cases of Tito's that make fabulous liquor baskets, like Bloody Mary baskets, Moscow Mule baskets that you can put together that sell for crazy amounts of money. They're very, very giving.
That's awesome. Great point. And tasty.
Tito's.
Also,
Sister Bridget, it is Tito's, Tito.
Yep.
So if you look up Tito vodka, they'll put it up there.
They actually have, when you go on their website, there's actually a thing that says, I think it's a tab that says like donations. You apply, you put in your 501c3. Each local rep has their own budget. So they'll reach out to you. They'll want to know about your event, and then they'll give you, I mean, I've picked up as many as 5 cases of Tito's at a time.
That's awesome.
So absolutely, Juan, we will be sending this out with a recording. We're going to send these slides so you can see all that. So we have an event coming up with 600 participants, mostly women rather than couples, along with an unknown number of virtual participants. How many silent auction items do you recommend? So this is really good because now we're talking about back to the rule of giving units. So if you just say half to 3/4, I'm probably a large that size. I'd love to hear what Amy thinks. I'm going to say, no more than 300, but probably more like 200 is probably where I would say. But Amy, what do you think? Oh, she said 200. So there you go. Amy, I need you talking, not typing. I know that.
So I would say 200, just because the other thing you want to keep in mind is you want people giving in your fund of need that cost you nothing. You don't have to get items. Getting a lot of items is a lot of work and doesn't yield as much as just getting people to give during your fund of need or mission drive.
Melissa
Absolutely.
Amy, has a good question.
I want to ask you just about this because I think this is something that people miss on. Give some experience share with premium silent auction items.
Premium silent auction. So
stuff that's not the normal donated, $200, $300, $400, $500 items, but like things that might be $3,000 or $4,000.
A great golf experience. If you can have somebody that has connections to like a private course where maybe the PGA has been played and you can get an experience there. Any type of experience at like an NFL football game, box seats, something like that. We've always had really good luck with like going to training sessions for like your local NFL football team. Anything like experiences with sports teams is huge.
Yep.
Another thing I would suggest is to go online. There are tons of places that you can apply in addition to Tito's that you can apply for, like American Doll, Carnival Cruise Lines. There's lots of them. You just go on, fill out an application, and they'll reach back out and just send you items.
You made mention of the sports teams. Here in Northern California, the San Francisco Giants are the closest Major League Baseball team to us, and they have a community fund, the San Francisco Giants Community Fund. And when you reach out to them, they'll actually donate tickets. We had our local Chamber of Commerce event here, and they donated tickets. We put them in the silent auction. So I think that's fantastic. A lot of times there's season ticket holders, like Amy was referring to, that will donate tickets or boxes or whatnot. Those are fantastic ideas as well. So,
or if you can get, like, if you have a connection to a specific baseball player, football player that will do like a baseball Zoom call with a little league baseball team to give like batting lessons or something, will sell for a ton of money.
Love that. That's great.
So, to speak about that, years ago, I was fortunate enough to know this guy. And so he was the voice of baseball from Oklahoma. And of course, now I just mad cow kicked in. I can't think of Bobby's last name. It'll come to me in a second. But anyway, with the Yankees, and we would sell to be a bat boy at Yankee Stadium. It brought a ton of money, but that gave us the idea. We went to the local college. We did dueling bedlam. We got one at the University of Oklahoma and one at Oklahoma State University, and they brought big money. And my son got to do it because my wife bought it, and it was on a silent auction. And I think she gave like $500-600 for it because it was a birthday deal. He got to go, and I mean, they treated him like royalty, and they loved doing it. And so, if there's a tournament, if there's a college tournament going around, let them go do that. They have that kind of stuff, and they're willing to do those things that people, will do stuff for kids. I'll tell you another one, birthday parties. If you've got a stadium and you can go get them to, like a stadium or a basketball gym, or like we got to do a basketball party at the Thunder practice facility. I'm in Oklahoma City. So the Thunder practice facility, it was really cool because all the Thunder stuff is there. It's not in the arena, but it's right there where they practice all the time. They got to go hang out in the locker room. They got to see all that. And it was just really, really good and did real well.
Jason, another fun one is your local fire department. A lot of them will allow you to have a kid's birthday party at the fire department, and then just get a local place to donate pizza, and people love it. And it's so easy and so cheap to get.
Right here in Oklahoma City, if you call, they have a process, you do it, and it's $5. I think it's like $5 a person. So if you want to have a party there, they'll do it like they say, look, it's 10, this is when they'll set the date up. They take care of the food and everything. The firefighters actually fix dinner and do that. So all the things that you're talking about, just remember, people do not want to buy stuff, especially now that we've gone through everything. We can get right on, Amazon and have a whole pile of stuff at your front door tomorrow, but experiences they love, and people love to buy experiences for their children, and they will pay because they can't just buy it off the shelf. Especially for those kind of things that they won't do, because they won't normally do a firefighter birthday party unless, it's through an organization like that.
I think there's a trend here as well, though, where the pattern that I'm seeing is that asking, not being afraid to ask these organizations and the people. Melissa Newhouse had a question actually that kind of ties into that, and she was asking Jason and Amy, how can you engage your board to make asks to their network? Jason, we've had this conversation hundreds and hundreds of times with different organizations, and getting them to ask would be huge as well. We can embellish a little bit on that if you like.
Put a shot collar on them and tell them it's either $5,000 or 5 live, 15 silent auction items.
Sure.
You could do that.
I think nudging people politely works really, really well. That's for sure.
Well, we talk about things like a people exercise. People do not realize how many contacts that they have. Mark West did one the other day with a group. We talked about it, and I don't remember what the number was, but I think it was like $240,000 of capacity, and they didn't even get through the letter C on their phones, and they had just with the board and the group they were doing it with. You have a lot of capacity, and the way that we ask is, can they write a check for $10,000 and not miss it? Can they fill a table with people that will come and spend money? Do they have special access? Well, that special access check is the one, all of a sudden you're going through your phone and you cannot think, because everybody sits around and tries to think of names, but when you're going through the phone and you're rolling through there and you're seeing it and you go, oh, wait a minute, there's Trevor Nelson. Trevor's used to run ultras. He played college baseball. He's knows all these contacts and stuff, and he's buddies with this guy that does triathlons. What can we do with that?
Yeah,
he's got access because he knows people with bikes and stuff, and maybe there's some bike party or something. I'm just using that for an example. You'll be surprised how many people that you can come up with, how much if you just go through your phone and get your board to do the same thing. So that's how you help your board. If you just ask them, you're going to get nothing. You're going to get what you've already got. But if you just say, everybody pull your phone out. I need 3 questions. All I want you to do is start calling out names.
Yep.
And you just sit there and spin through the phone, and they sit there and go, Amy Myers, Mark West, Trevor Nelson. And then you go back and say, can they write a check for $10,000, not miss it? Because it's not all about money. You know, it's what do they have access to?
Yeah.
You know, the fact that Mark's, wife is a former lady astronaut. And so, Cheryl's really not, but I mean, just that's kind of the thing. And people, they're going, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
What kind of a great experience would that to be for her, that person to pull out some stuff and have a private party, that's not big publicity deal. Yeah. Set the expectation, as Amy just said, that you want them to secure sponsorship, sell tables and secure auction items. Get out there. And it's not too late. If your event is in 30 days, you're going to have a board member. You pick up the phone and call your board members, Trevor, hey, I appreciate everything that you're doing, but I need your help. I need you to make 5 phone calls for me. Call 5 people on your list because we need some stuff. Give them something specific. If you just say, hey, would you help me get some auction items? It's not specific. Don't focus on the outcome. Focus on the task that you're going to ask them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Will you make 5 calls for me?
Yep.
And here's some. Will you
and
do
I think also you're talking about, you're giving the folks the tools to do this, right? We have this conversation every week, regardless of what our topic is. We have this conversation where we're nudging the committee and what have you, and folks in the network. There's another thing that we haven't really even spoken about. That's a big, obvious human thing, is that when you ask, people respond more often than not. These folks that are that are working on the event, they want to be tasked with these things. They want to be given these tools and this nudge, and they're flattered by it. They're honored to help. These are dignified people that want to help, and asking them to do so is not a burden to most.
But they do. And to Trevor's point, they want to help, but they don't really know how to get started. We have to just, it's kind of like we got to prime the pump. And you'll be surprised. You'll have somebody that you've never thought would do anything. Next thing you know, they're bringing you, well, I kind of got on a roll and I called 5 people and I called 7. Next thing you know, they brought you 13 items. And the total value of that stuff is, $5,000.
Yep, exactly.
Because they started doing it. Get those.
We all have
get them to focus on the tasks, not the outcome. Because if you just say, look, you've got to go get 5 items. So I don't need you to make 5 items. I need you to make 5 phone calls. I need you to do 5 emails, send 5 texts this week by Friday. Today's Thursday. I'm asking if you can, before noon tomorrow, which is Friday, will you send out 5 text messages to people and make a solicitation?
Yep.
That's a different ask than say, go get 5 items, because it's you're focused on an outcome that they may fail on.
One thing looks like an order. The other thing looks like an ask, or a favor. There's a big difference between here's an order and a checklist and hey, will you do me a favor? There's like I said, there's this human element to this that I've seen work so well. So,
well, hey, we're wrapping up and we've only got like 6 minutes left. I want to see if there's any questions. And I've got our winner. So do not go anywhere, because if you disappear, you will not win. So don't go anywhere. Really, thank you guys so much for being here. Amy Myers, thank you so much for just always stepping in and providing such fantastic information. We're going to follow up with the recording of this. We're going to send you the audio along with it. So if you just want to listen to it, and also the slides. And if there's any questions, please, Jason at hjfundraising.com, Trevor at hjfundraising.com. And we're even going to CC Amy on there. So if you have a question, and Amy is so sweet to always respond. Amy, how's the weather? We need a report.
Yes.
It is gorgeous. It has been in the 80s and sunny and amazing.
Good. Awesome.
Thank you so much.
I hope this isn't off-putting anyone, but will you do us a favor? Will you go have at some point a Tito's Bloody Mary for us in Paradise? That would make. I
think I can make that happen.
So we can live
something with an umbrella. Make sure it has an umbrella in it, because that's what I think. Yeah.
I may or may not have already had a few.
That's awesome.
Okay. All right. So here's our winner, Amy Quinn.
Okay. All right, Amy.
You, just for being here, won something that you're going to be able to use in your next fundraising to help you raise more money. Again, my name is
really good
Nelson. Amy Myers, hjfundraising.com. Reach out to us. You're going to get there. If we can help you in any way, please let us know how we can help, because we want to be there for you.
So good. Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Jason.
Next week we'll be here.
Thank you, everyone. All right. All right. We'll see you next Thursday.